When you think of autism awareness, what comes to mind? Do you immediately go to bright colours and loud patterns? Are these potentially sensory overloading and ugly designs truly beneficial for autistic people? Hey friends, I'm Mike, a late diagnosed autistic adult, and today we're going to start by talking about the now infamous Autism Speaks Police Car. Now, this was designed in conjunction with the controversial charity Autism Speaks, and it's controversial for reasons that we'll touch on later. But Mike, I hear you ask, isn't this old news? No, it's still going on.
I am Officer James Saleh. I am the School Resource Officer at Cocoa High School for the Cocoa Police Department. And this is our brand new wrapped autism awareness vehicle.
So this is actually recorded in March 2024. This thing is on the roads now.
This autism car is...
This autism car. The car doesn't have autism. It appears to have some sort of skin rash. Very colourful skin rash, garish looking thing. I'd probably cover that up and get some car cream for it.
to raise awareness to folks in the community about people with autism and those on the spectrum.
So what does it tell you about people with autism? Just a very quick point here. You have a skin rash. The skin rash is not part of you. That stuff, that wrap should hopefully peel off. It's not part of the car. I don't carry my autism around with me in a little bag. Oh, what's this? Oh, don't worry about that. That's just my autism. I carry it around with me sometimes. It's not something that I can get a cream for, or a pill for, or a surgery for. I am autistic. It's a neurodevelopmental difference or neurodevelopmental disorder. If you want to get technical about it, it affects, people from their entire lives, from birth to death, the whole thing in between, autism like a stick of rock all the way through. It affects your experience of life, everything about you. It's not like it's the only thing about you and that's all you are, but it's not like with autism. So some people will like that language where you say, this is so-and-so, he has autism, she has autism. Okay. But it's much more appropriate in general to say an autistic person.
And this right here is very special to me because I actually have a child who is on the spectrum, and these are her initials.
Okay. My
daughter was just recently diagnosed as being high-functioning autistic, what used to be called Asperger's.
Okay, hang on. So high-functioning autistic is not a diagnosis. Your daughter wasn't diagnosed high-functioning autistic. There's no way that would be written down on a piece of paper anywhere. That's not how it looks. Autism is not a spectrum from the low-functioning, needing assistance with everything, all the way through to the high-functioning, Elon Musk, whatever, would be considered high-functioning. That isn't the case at all. Actually, autism is a two-dimensional spectrum. It's not a line. It's better represented that way, which shows the various aspects, the various parts of a person, and the various ways in which they need support, or they're good at, or they're less good at, whatever.
And she was actually underdiagnosed for many, many years having just ADHD until we took her to the psychologist. He did his evaluation, and as soon as we got the diagnosis, it opened up all kinds of possibilities, and it helped me to understand how she thinks. And that's what's important. Police officers in general receive many, many hours of training dealing with people with mental health conditions. Being a school resource officer on top...
Okay. So police officers get a lot of training dealing with people with mental health conditions. Okay. Autism is not a mental health condition, but okay. Take his word for that.
The school resource officer school, we also had to go through a crisis intervention training school, which helped us to understand more about how to deal with people with autism and other mental health issues.
No, autism is not a mental health issue, James. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder or neurodevelopmental difference. It is not a mental health condition. There's big differences there. You are more likely to have co-occurring mental health conditions, certainly, but it really isn't a mental health condition.
Having an autistic child myself helps me to relate more to these children and also with the parents, because I'm not just a resource for the school and for the children, but I'm also a resource for the parents. It helps them understand that I can understand and empathize where they're coming from. This vehicle is very special. We partner with Florida Vehicle Wraps as well as being sponsored by the Puzzle Box Academy. As you can see, the different shapes and colors in the puzzle pattern, The puzzle pattern reflects the complexity of the autism spectrum. The different colors and shapes represent the diversity of the
They're not different shapes, dude. That's the same shape.
people and families living with the condition. After scouring the internet for different pictures
Okay, look, we'll get to the puzzle piece issue in a second. Let's say. I'm not sure what that's a puzzle of. It looks like it's missing a bunch of pieces.
and shapes and whatever we can find to put on this hood, we decided on the American flag with the autism logo going right down as one of the symbols of the stripes of the flag, which indicates our diversity as a nation and the diversity of people with autism as it is a spectrum. Click the link above to vote for Coco. There are 4 agencies competing to have the best car, the best livery of the car. We want you to vote for Coco and let us win.
Fortunately, it's really hard to read. It's almost like a
5 suspects inside, one for 211. Suspects known to be armed. The southbound Harbor Freeway.
sensory overload. It can happen to anyone. We've all got our limits, but it is particularly common among autistic people and those with sensory processing disorders or other neurological conditions. Sensory overload can make it really difficult to concentrate or to function, as our brains struggle to focus on the task at hand. It feels like stress or this building of anxiety and sometimes even physical pain. Sight, being one of our senses that can contribute to sensory overload in autism, I'm really not sure how they feel loud colours in a vomit-inducing pattern is helping to raise awareness of autism. Do they raise awareness, or might they make things worse? In some respects, we wouldn't be here talking about these vehicles. So, in one way, they have actually managed to raise awareness, although I question if it's the right kind of awareness. Look, I'm aware not all autistic people are like me. And if you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. However, it's clearly aimed at, not children specifically, but the parents of autistic children. These designs are made by people who think this is what autistic people want to see, and in that respect, it is offensive. It's not come from within the autistic community, it's come from outside it. And to that extent, it's hard to feel like it isn't, right? But it feels like it's an imposition. This isn't helped by the fact that the puzzle piece design is unreasonably offensive. Its original symbolism was created by the UK's National Autism Society in 1963, as the board of directors at the time believed that autistic people suffered from a puzzling condition. The Weeping Child puzzle design was intended to reflect autism as a tragedy that children suffer from. This visualization of autism is part of decades of unwanted treatments and therapies that autistic people won't want to treat a disease that they don't have. This is because autism is not a disease, and it is also not a mental illness. Decades later, the Autism Society of America created the puzzle piece ribbon as a symbol of autism awareness. They stated that the bright colours signal hope, and the different colours and shapes represent the diversity of people and families living with the condition. They had the stated goals of increased awareness and early intervention. Now, early intervention means ABA therapies. For those that don't know, think dog training, but instead of a dog, it's an autistic child. And although remote electric shock collars for dogs are actually banned in the UK now, electric shocks can still be given to autistic kids in a therapy that has very limited scientific support. Thankfully, the UK's National Autistic Society has since ceased using the puzzle piece symbolism, going with a more modern and accessible soft-coloured circle, like one half of the multicoloured infinity symbol. It's unique and clear. The puzzle piece came back, adopted in 2005 by Autism Speaks. These are the same organisation who previously called autism a disease, an epidemic, and referred to autistic people as burdens and tragedies. So, as far as PR goes, this isn't a great branding decision. Puzzles, particularly with large colourful shapes like that, support the misconception that autism only occurs in childhood, and autistic adults are largely ignored in the conversation about autism. It's one of the reasons why I started this channel. The puzzle piece is often found alongside phrases such as "until all the pieces fit." A charity that claims to support amputees wouldn't have missing limbs in its logo and call the disabled a burden, and yet here we are in 2024 with exactly that. But what about the training?
Police officers in general receive many hours of training.
I doubt the quality of this police officer's training if he's referring to autism as a mental health issue. It isn't. It isn't a mental health issue, and it isn't a disease. It's a neurotype. It's a developmental condition. Let's talk about the problems. An autistic person might respond differently to how police expect, especially under stress or if they're struggling with sensory overwhelm. Autistic people have suffered at the hands of police, from unlawful arrests through to shootings. Imagine police being called to the scene of an autistic shutdown or meltdown, or how about someone is simply stimming in a manner that neurotypicals find awkward. Imagine if this person is large and black, perhaps. Not a child, and they're flapping and dancing or moving about in an untypical manner. It's not a huge leap to consider how the police, in dealing with autistic adults, might make this situation worse if their training is focused on the needs of children and their parents. Well-intentioned? In life as a rule, I prefer to give the benefit of the doubt and take the approach that there's been some misunderstanding rather than malicious intent. And 99% of the time, I'm about right. However, these garish designs, I think, are more than simply offensive. I think they're overriding the voices of actually autistic people. The ethos behind the design considers autism a problem to be cured and treated, rather than a difference to be celebrated. They've had enough time now. Police departments, fire departments, even the Coast Guard have all had years to learn from actually autistic adults, like me, and others. They should know by now. Some people might like the puzzle piece, but some others prefer something like this, which is a colourful infinity symbol, and it has some crossovers with pride. And that feels like a feature to me and not a bug. This piece of stained glass was made by my friend Yannicka, and it's absolutely beautiful. It looks much better in person than it could ever do on a camera, and thank you so much, Yannicka, for sending me this. If you're watching this video and you are a member of a public service organisation, please consider the way that you interact with autistic people in your messaging. Don't just run with people with autism like I have this stained glass. It's not separate to me. It's not a disease to be cured. I can't leave my autism at home. I was born autistic. I will die autistic. It's not something that can be separated from me. It isn't something that can be treated. In general, try not to say people with autism in the same way that you would reference a disease. If you're feeling stuck, just ask them. Don't generalise. It's honestly as simple as that. Your support helps me to pay the channel's bills, like licensing this terrible background music, motivational business theme, to avoid copyright strikes. I've recently launched a Patreon, which helps me make more autism awareness content than I'd be able to do otherwise. This officially launches this week, but early access is open today. So if you'd like to join the AUTISTI-CAT's private community on Discord, please head on over to my Patreon. The link is in the description below. Your support helps me produce more autism awareness content than I would be able to do otherwise. This is Saber, and he is a member of the AUTISTI-CAT's Discord community. You can gain access to the Scratching Post Club on Discord on all of the tiers, with some extra benefits on the other tiers if you would like them. This officially launches this week, but early access is open today. If you'd like to join the AUTISTI-CAT's private community on Discord, please head on over to my Patreon. The link is in the description below.